Constructed our identities, put in the books, gave us ID cards, we said so and so, put so and so, yeah, in the identity.
That's far?
Absolutely.
Up to the identity card?
Yes. So how do you think genocide happened? So you were
oh my God.
supposed to show your ID, and if you hid your your ID, they knew then you're the guy who is being hunted down. So you were then killed. So people had to talk with you. So now, as we speak, we have national IDs that say so and so, date of birth, nationality, Rwanda. That's it. So it's a very ridiculous story that it's very unfortunate. Of course, we have to take the share of the blame because we didn't stop it.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
This is a touching story.
Yes, definitely.
His Excellency, what is the state of bilateral relations between Rwanda and China in the context of growing influence and impact of Belt and Road Initiative?
Yes, I should say that for me, I'm very happy. I'm blessed to have been posted here when the bilateral relationship between China and Rwanda is at peak. It's at the highest level. This is demonstrated by the current state visits between our president. President Xi Jinping was in Rwanda in 2018 in July and met with our president, signed bilateral agreements that are being executed now. Our president eventually came to participate in FOCAC and then paid state visits, which really, by virtue of that, then it's a demonstration. You know, the African continent is big. President Xi Jinping visited a few countries, including Rwanda, which is a demonstration of a very, very strong diplomatic relations with China. And China's influence will continue to be there. And I can confidently say that it is unstoppable, given its economic fundamentals and its vision to continue creating partnerships and cooperation across the world. China will continue to influence the world. And I want to believe that it's a positive influence. Yeah? Positive influence because you hear a lot of stories of Africa wanting to colonize Africa, wanting to conquer Africa, wanting to put Africa in debt trap, wanting to exploit resources. We are not working or cooperating with China under the illusion that they have no interest. They have interest. Everybody has interest. But China comes to the African continent, in my view, to help on a number of major important undertakings. One is bridging the infrastructure gap, which hinders Africa's development. Come from Africa, you know the situation. Yeah, you do one highway, one railway line, then you're stuck for another 5 years. You wait for another year, and we cannot develop without necessary efficient infrastructure. China's contribution in that area alone, it is unparalleled. It can be compared with any other development partner. Yeah, through grants, but also through concessional loans. That's one. China is also contributing in other areas like agriculture, health, education, and technology. Yeah. As we speak today, I saw an announcement of a project that is going to connect our secondary schools in terms of sharing teaching materials through technology developed by Huawei. So that project was negotiated by the government of Rwanda with China to support schools have access to internet and learning materials. And they're going to be building what we call, smart classrooms. So, and the project itself is called Smart Education. So China comes to Africa, and I want to assume or believe that many countries do like that. But let me speak with the authority for Rwanda. They finance whether it is grant or concession loan, they finance projects that are within the list of our priorities. See, Rwanda has, for instance, national strategy for transformation that will take us up to 2024 and then 2024 to 2035, and then we have Vision 2050, which I'm just taking Rwanda from now to middle income in 2035, 2050 high income. And under that blueprint, you see a lot of pillars and strategic programs that you want to implement for you to be able to achieve that level of transformation. And you have a list of things you want to do in infrastructure, in education, in health, in agriculture, in e-commerce, etc., etc. So when a partner, in this case China, comes, they don't come with a briefcase and say, we want to do this. No. They come and say, how can we work together? What are your priorities? And say, I need this road, I need this school, I need smart education, and this in health. And then you look at the list and then you agree and you start a negotiation. Problem is, those who tend to work against China's what is going to be influenced in Africa, they don't give you an alternative. There's no alternative. So going forward, for us to look at China even under the focus, the forum on China-Africa cooperation, we have identified a number of sectors that have been working together, have the action plan for 3 years and to continue to be renewed in infrastructure, trade and investment, supporting small and medium enterprises, health, climate change, and throughout that 3 years we'll be implementing a number of programs, and China has committed some resources in that respect, so that including the recovery from COVID-19 that is a priority to us. So we see a lot of positive things happening in the future in the areas that have been cooperating with China, and it's based on mutual respect and mutual interest, and we are very excited to be partnering with China.
Yes, Excellency, thank you for giving us this. My follow-up question would be, what is your relationship with other African ambassadors in China? Is there a joint development program you have done or planning to do together for African development from diaspora?
I'm actually happy that the African group of ambassadors in Beijing are very active. They come together to discuss African matters, and we're happy that the African Union Commission sent a representative, so the AU is represented in Beijing. So we have African ambassadors group that meet almost every month. Maybe the pandemic has reduced the frequency of meetings. We need to discuss a number of things pertaining to African issues. We have discussed how we work together with China to operationalize Africa, continental free trade area. We work together on FOCAC matters. We spent the last 3 months preparing for the just concluded meeting in Dakar, the 8th ministerial meeting of FOCAC that took place in Senegal. We are working together. We created committees, subcommittees to discuss specific, the nitty-gritties of coming up with the action plan. The African Group of Ambassadors was together throughout that time. We look at so many other matters, the reform of the United Nations Security Council, where we make our contributions, and we conduct joint promotional activities, sometimes by sub-region initiatives by the entire group. We have the annual retreat as the African ambassadors to review and discuss global matters and see how we can actually form synergies with what we are doing with China and how China can continue to be very supportive to our respective development agenda.
Do you partner as well with local diaspora Africans in this aspect?
Yeah, I should say that the pandemic has affected our interactions, but we definitely, starting with our own diaspora, Rwandans living here in China, we work together on a number of things. compared to other places where I've worked, the diaspora is comprised of people who work for companies, big corporations, they are in technology industries, they are in universities. But here, majority of our diaspora are young people studying, doing PhDs, masters. Very few work for big companies, and so we're focusing on working with them first of all to remain united as Rwandans, work together to support our country in terms of knowledge transfer, technology transfer, and of course they represent our country in many different ways, talk to companies, and then introduce the companies to the embassy, we give them materials to engage them so that they can be able to participate in this exciting journey of rebuilding Rwanda. So there's a way they support us. We meet annually. We are not very sure Beijing will allow us. Normally we have a big function here at the embassy to talk to them, remind ourselves why we are here, what we should do together, and how we should continue to support our country's transformation. So, and then across the board, we interact with the rest of other African diaspora. We have an organization, I think originally founded by a young man from Ghana, Dwapa. We have interaction because Dwapa's agenda is much bigger than one country, so we think it is important to form synergy with what our own diaspora do. So at the end of the day, we work for Africa. So I wish we had the freedom to do so now. Because of the pandemic, it cannot happen. But I think going forward, we need to strengthen our cooperation across the different groups.
Have you thought maybe of Zoom conferences?
Yeah, I think I participated in one and I delivered remarks, which was again organized by Dwapa, trying to give, it was about youth and their role, trying to give them my own perspective on what would be the contribution of the diaspora in building or supporting the development agenda of countries. We live in a country that has a model that's quite interesting for Africa because the transformation of this country happened when we were all born and working, and it's the other day. It's just in 2000. Don't talk about 78 when China opened up. They opened up, but they were still struggling. Until 2001, when they joined the global supply chain and started selling everything across the globe, and suddenly China became what it is today. And so being here is an opportunity we should utilize to try and develop keen interest and understand how actually it happened and what is it that we can learn from here that is applicable in our own situation so that we can make a difference.
Actually, that was on my list as well to ask you the things that you've learned here in the time that you've been in China. What experiences and what accomplishments of the Chinese here would you take back home?
That's a very good question, because here, if you're not careful, it's like you're dropped in the middle of the ocean and you can't see the horizon and you don't know where you're going to swim to, right?
Yes, it's true. So there's so much
something
opportunity.
should guide you that, oh, come, you get to the shores. How you get there, it's really quite tricky. But I personally had to undertake a task that I was assigned to by my party to study how China made it. And I immersed myself into the ocean, and I discovered something very, very important that we Africans have to explore further and understand how it worked. How small and medium enterprises contributed and continue to contribute to the transformation of this country. If we don't adapt what China did in our own environment, we are not going to achieve the Africa we want in terms of transformation. Why? This country invested heavily in the small and medium enterprises. So for us, when we think about industrialization or industrial development, we think of big factories and the robots. And I know we have attempted. Many of our countries, we have industrial zones, industrial parks. When you go there, you see a lot of things, very exciting. But that's not what made difference. What made difference in this country is what they call proto-industries, the small ones. That's the lesson I take. I don't take lesson from one factory I visited in, I think it was Zhejiang. It was during the Chinese Spring Festival. Nobody was there, but the industry was working.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everything, from inputs to the final product, it is the machine that works with the other machine. For me, that's good to see and hear. But what I want is, I produce groundnuts, I produce avocado, I produce sugarcane. What is the small machine the size of that television that actually can convert the sugarcane into juice? And I said it. I package it proper and I send it to Nigeria, to Ghana, to Kenya, to Uganda.
Then another question, sorry.
So that's
it makes it so excited.
Okay.
Do you think that by partnering with these small entities to promote partnership between these small SMEs in China with SMEs in Africa and especially in Rwanda would make a difference?
It is like you were in a closed door meeting that I had with my colleagues. That was the discussion. Because you see, from the African perspective, or I should say the perception is big industries, which is okay. Steel industries, making trains, fine. But people forget the fact that 60% of the economy is actually in the hands of those small enterprises. And to your question, the guy who produces the machine that will convert the sugarcane into the juice is a small enterprise in China.
Wow.
Is a small enterprise. So, again, my intention is not to bring together the guy in Zhejiang with the robot, who uses robots to work with other robots to produce something. I want to bring this guy in Guangzhou who makes those small machines to convert sugarcane into juice or avocado into oil.
Wow.
To send those small machines to Africa.
Yes.
And
That is the idea.
the small companies that do that in Rwanda that I have seen, they actually have a big market in Rwanda and in the neighborhood. Most of their products, 80%, one of the small companies I was talking to, is sold in DRC. Because Eastern Congo have no access of the Kinshasa capital market. They will never have that access. Their access is in Rwanda because it is in the same region. Meaning that as I crisscross this big nation, I there look at the big robotics.
So basically, if I listen to you carefully, many times I hear that there is not enough electricity in Africa. I say Africa now because many African countries have this problem. I don't know about Rwanda. But do you think it is wise for African leaders to look more at partnering with SMEs here who are producing machinery who doesn't need electricity, that can be man-handled, doesn't need electricity?
By the way,
Manually handled.
it's a combination. But let me just talk a bit about the problem in Africa in terms of energy deficit. The dark continent, as it is known. Indeed, that's a big challenge. But again, we Africans have to be very critical. How Rwanda tried to overcome this problem, and we continue to struggle with it, but at least we are happy to say we know where we're heading, is because back in 2012, 2003 or there. Every single investor who came to Rwanda to invest said, I can invest and I think this is a profitable business, but I'm sorry, I can't invest here because we don't have enough electricity for my industry. Then they will come back. Then someone smart within the system said, you know what? Instead of presenting electricity, shortage of electricity as a problem, let's present it as an opportunity for investment. When we started that, we started seeing American companies, Turkish companies coming in with the alternatives. The first American company went in the lake and produced electricity from methane gas that was there. We have a lot of deposits in one of the lakes that is between Rwanda and Congo. The Turkish came and said, you actually have pit, you can do a program called pit to power. Produced 80 megawatts that was free to be connected to any industry. So now, then we started thumping our chest by saying, oh, come, we have electricity. So we have to address that problem. And that's what I started saying with China. China is more than ready to invest in infrastructure. Whether it is through Belt and Road Initiative, whether it is through FOCAC, but they're interested in power generation, in railways, in roads. And that must be the responsibility of the government to ensure effective public investment so that it enables those small industries. And how do you support those small industries? If you go for the bigger national grids, you wait for another 10 years to do that. Do off-grid power generation through solar power systems that are already available here in China. You go in a village, you put up a few panels, you have 2-3 megawatts, enough for lighting the entire village, enough for connecting the small industries. Yeah? And of course I agree with you, some of them that are money, they are okay. How these people started is in your backyard. You put up something inside this room, you start producing nails or toothpicks or those small things or straws for drinking soda and water. And you make money. You have 5 employees, another one has 10, another one has 7. In total, you have employed how many youth, and you have addressed the issue of poverty. That does not stop you from going to the big industries to produce steel, to produce glass, to produce all those, but the small things that you need.
China, Connect Entertainment Live. Bridge.